US LLC or Hong Kong Limited. These are both the two best company structures in the world. And if they're used right, they can offer you 0% tax, great banking, perfect payment processing and maybe even private processing options and level up your business. But if they are used wrong, they will destroy your business with failed payments, with tax implications. And I realized how important it is to give clarity, because this here is not ChatGPT. This is the Aziz VIP 8-figure business experience. And this is the only video that you will ever need to watch about this topic. So, Bismillah, let's begin and let's jump right into the video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Aziz, Samuel Aziz. I'm the founder of privateprocessing.com, wealthconsulting.com, and I just finished an exclusive VIP 2-hour meeting with a client, and I realized how important it actually is to use the right company structure, because if you choose the wrong company structure, it's really bad. And your business can be really destroyed. And the issue is, just put it now on YouTube, this question, all these people that you watch are either broke or there are some advisors, but they are not really related to your business. And this is something that I realized before I started any of these companies here. In the past, I, for example, incorporated my company in the UAE. It was the wrong license, the wrong activity, because these people don't have any business experience. I wanted to set up my e-commerce business in the UAE, and they said, oh yeah, it will all work, but nothing worked. Then I was setting up a US LLC only to sell to Europe, and it didn't work. And I will give you the ultimate overview. So what's the difference and which of these companies is the best? Let's start with the video. In today's video, we will compare everything you need to know. Anonymity, credibility, taxation, accounting, obviously banking, where we are specialized on, also with isambank.com, payment processing and private processing from privateprocessing.com, investment possibilities, asset and legal protection, usability, and last but not least, I will, as always, pump in my mindset into this video, because this will be the most important, crucial point at the end of the day. Today, we are sending out brochures to our best clients, and we are sending out private processing awards to our best clients. And the number one difference is simply the mindset, and the mindset will even decide if this company setup is right or wrong for you. You don't believe me? You will figure it out in this video. And obviously, we will share with you the full timeline, the company formation, bank account opening, payment processing setup, local bank accounts and investments. And it's nice because I have the best experience as an entrepreneur, but I'm also basically now the oracle in e-commerce, because we manage the most successful entrepreneurs. So I see clear patterns of how long things take, what doesn't work, and it's a unique perspective. But if you pay attention, you can gain from my perspective. Let's start with number one, and this is anonymity. With the US LLC, you can set up a US LLC via a registered agent, which is fully anonymous. And this is not something shady, it's not gray zone, it's not hiding something, no, it's actually the law. If you set up a company in Wyoming, you even need a Wyoming registered agent, and it's a Wyoming registered agent from Wyoming, so you can rely on rule of law of the US. And I know the West is degrading, but the rule of law in the West is the best, and you can definitely rely on it. So it's fully anonymous if done right. And this is the next point. There's no public register with any informations about the beneficial owner. And I know they wanted to do changes, but these changes didn't happen, and it's a no-brainer. It's the best structure when it comes to anonymity. And it's already number 3 why it's even more anonymous, because corporate US bank accounts are not part of the common reporting standard. So if you are researching about common reporting standard and you saw one of these YouTubers telling you you need to set up a bank account in a third world country which is not part of it, no, you can just set up a bank account in the US, which is the best option. That's why you should unsubscribe to this, guys. And we just made an explanation about these topics. The link will be here in the description. So after this video, you can watch the next video of us. So at the end of the day, the US definitely offers you high protection of your identity. And if you want an additional layer, then you can choose a US signer. So, and this is something where most people fail, because there are a lot of the signer services out there who tell you, hey, for $500 per month, you get a US signer. And the issue is that most people sooner or earlier get scammed, either from the signer, because he just takes the money or whatsoever, or number two, these people face issues anyways, because the signers are used for 100 businesses. And now one of these businesses has banking issues or payment processing issues, so now your business will have the same. It's stupid. That's why the signer issue is a common issue of destroying your business. And it's not necessary. Why does it even happen? Either you don't have the right connections, and this is something which takes time, and that's what we've built already here, so you have the shortcut with us. Or number two, because people save on the wrong end. We had one client, he knew that he needs to pay much more for a proper signer, but he didn't do it. So he paid these cheap providers, and now his business is basically destroyed. And now all the businesses on the signer, it's not so easy to just transfer your business back if this person is not available for you anymore. So it's a sensitive topic, and in best case, if you need a signer, done right, it's very easy. You find a real person. That's why we have our community, and that's why we sometimes, for a few chosen entrepreneurs, help to find the right US person, which is then officially with a lawyer. It's a real manager in your company, a real person that we know for 10 years, and we still stand in between, so that the signer doesn't get scammed from you, and that you don't get scammed from the signer, so that everybody is doing well at the end of the day. But just to summarize, anonymity is great in the US, even without it, and signer can just help you for payment processing and banking, and this is what we will cover later on. When it comes to Hong Kong, you can do the setup via nominee director. Yes, it's possible, but high scam risk. And we definitely see this every day because it's the same issue. And it's common, especially all these e-commerce communities that just recommend these providers, but they don't do their due diligence. And then all of a sudden, boom, everybody gets scammed. And we saw this case 100 times where people got scammed with a nominee director in Hong Kong. They've never been in Hong Kong. I said, do you know this person? No, I don't know who this person is. So you just transfer your business to this unknown director, transfer it at least to somebody that you know, or a person that knows him, and that you have experience with them, that there's some track record. But that's the issue. Then there's a public register with the name of the company director, which is the owner, so it's basically public. And corporate Hong Kong bank accounts are part of the CRS. As far as I know, they are not exchanging the data to the US, but you can see there is high trust. And anonymity many times means there's less trust. And it can create sometimes some issues, of course, that the LLC is anonymous. But at the end of the day, US is the winner here. It's clear. So if the only reason for you is to set up a company which is anonymous, choose the US. And it's a no-brainer anyways, even independently of your business. But maybe you don't need it directly for your business. But I will give you more clarity in the next steps. So, number two, credibility. US LLC has great international standing and high trust, especially in the US and Canada. And the US and US LLCs are not viewed as a tax haven. And this is amazing because you don't need these third world tax havens, some offshore tax havens, because the US, and I shouldn't say this here, but the US is the biggest tax haven in the world, where nobody knows that it's a tax haven, which is great. And it's a loophole, not for everybody, but especially if you're a non-US citizen, non-US resident, it's like a cheat code. Doing business in the US, but having a pass-through entity, nobody knows that it's a tax haven, and everything just works. And this is amazing, so you need to use this cheat code. So imagine, I just give you all the GTA cheat codes, you can level up 100 times faster. But many people try to figure this game out without the cheat codes, and that's why it doesn't work. Let's take a look at the credibility of a Hong Kong Limited. Also good international standing, of course, especially in Asia. And yes, some countries could perceive Hong Kong as a tax haven because they're connected to China, and China, they see it as an enemy. You know how the West is. That's why it's good to sometimes combine both, but overall, credibility is also great. And if you just look at the big corporations, it's a no-brainer. If you look at most Eastern European countries, Caribbean countries, it's obvious it's a tax haven. But neither with US or Hong Kong, people think it's a tax haven. And that's why I need to give a plus to both, 5-star to both of them, because the credibility of both of these companies is absolutely great. And you can see here that so many, of course, big corporations are headquartered and have their companies in these two countries. I think it's a no-brainer, and probably the US has all the big corporations of the world. Why is it? Why are all the big companies and most successful startups still in the US? And then close is obviously China with Shenzhen and Hong Kong and so on, because it's great if used right. And that's what I share with you. Let's take a next look at taxation. Taxation with the US LLC is a pass-through entity. So profits are taxed on a personal level. They're taxed on a personal level, and it can be tax-free, especially if you don't have substance in the US, if you're a non-US citizen, non-US resident. It's a loophole. And this loophole means, I can share with you now all the details, but number one, we are not tax advisors here, and this here is no tax advice at all. We are licensed for company formation, for payment processing, for banking, and for consulting. And I don't want to be a tax advisor here because I give you the real business advice that works. And your SLLCs are just easy. You don't need to worry too much. But number one, if you're non-US citizen, non-US resident, don't really have substance there, it's usually easy. But because it's a loophole, it means for some kind of people, it's not safe for them. Because I heard some people who made the experience, they even talked to different accountants in the US, and different accountants gave them different answers because some accountants don't even know the law and how it works for non-US citizens, and that's why they are confused. And some people, for them it's easy. They want the easiest way, and other people want the safest way. And you don't have the tax certainty. This is what you have with Hong Kong, because Hong Kong companies are directly taxed on a corporate and personal level. Only need to pay taxes basically if you pay yourself money out, but if your personal setup is at zero tax, the easiest way is to be in the UAE, where we are right now, then it's not really an issue. And the company can be also tax-free if you qualify and apply for the offshore tax exemption. So it's the opposite way. It means you basically need to apply for the offshore tax exemption. You need to do accounting, you need to do auditing, which we will face later on. But it also means it gives you more tax certainty. Every year you got approved. Here are the documents. You did your accounting and auditing. You're 100% safe. That's also why I'm always telling you why I like to be a resident in the UAE, just because here in the office, we have our zero tax residency certificate. It's like, boom, black on white. And I think this can definitely give you peace of mind. But most of you ask themselves, obviously, maybe I even need taxes. And we have this, especially in e-com. You need to have a VAT number, GST in Europe. And especially in Europe, it's important. And that's why, to make it short, Hong Kong Limiteds are great to do business in Europe and in VAT countries, because it's easy to qualify for the VAT. And I won't go into detail because we already uploaded an almost 1-hour video about Hong Kong Limiteds. We will put the link here in the descriptions. This is the detailed overview of taxes and how taxes in Hong Kong work. But this is definitely one reason why people choose Hong Kong for the VAT in Europe and in APEC. Here we have the accounting. And this is where most people are turned off, right? Hey, I left the Matrix, I left the West. I'm in Dubai or in UAE and the GCC, and I want to have a zero tax company, no bureaucracy, no headache, and that's what we all want basically, right? We all don't want to be in the West and they basically destroy your business. We want to be in a pro-business country. And I heard a quote which said, if a great businessman meets a bad business, the bad business always wins. And if a great man meets a bad country, the bad country wins. this surviving and they're making the best out of it, it doesn't work. Why? Just look at the statistics. Where are the big startups, the big tech companies? Everything in the European Union. I don't see much. They are in the US. Why? Because it's so easy. So even if you decide you don't just want to have a US LLC, pass-through entity, but you actually want to be in the US, the taxes are still low and it's extremely pro-business and nothing is holding you back. You can be of all kinds of races and hair colors and opinions. It's easy for you to build a business. You can be 16 years old. And in Europe, it's difficult. So that's why a lot of you are already brand marked and have a trauma of taxes and accounting. And I get you, because I was the same. I lived in Germany, all the taxes. I didn't want to pay these taxes because I knew the taxpayers are funding the wars. And then all this accounting, and then the accountants destroying me. But with both companies, you won't have an issue, and I will reveal it. That's why most people want a US LLC, because it's anyways accounting free. If you are out of the US system as a non-US citizen, non-US resident, but it can be, yes, it can be maybe mandatory if you live in a CFC country, but it's not really real. These countries don't even know about it. So, and even if you want to do it officially, sometimes they just don't get it. And that's why I'm telling you, it's more easy, no headache at all, but sometimes you don't even get a clear answer. And that's why some people prefer the Hong Kong Limited, where they have a clear answer and tax certainty. And maybe later on, if you want to sell your company, accounting and auditing is of course recommended, but I'm always thinking that I don't need the country forcing me to do it. I know by myself what's done right. And in Hong Kong, accounting is required. Annual accounting and even auditing, which is for most young entrepreneurs like, whoa, 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 no, I will not do this. I have enough of this. I did it in the past. I'm out of it. I won't repeat it. And I get you. And I had the same opinion in the past. But overall, I think it's not a big issue. Why? Because we have good partners, accounting company who do the accounting. And anyways, as a proper entrepreneur, you need to have employees so they can take care of it. I don't know about all the accounting here in the UAE and in Hong Kong. How should I manage all of this? But we anyways need to have internal accounting. We need to have our finances in place. We anyways have invoices and the team is managing it and directly giving it to the accountant. So I think there's not an issue. It sounds difficult, but just work with the accounting partners, an auditor once per year, not a big headache. If I would need to choose, of course, US is more easy because the accounting also means, especially in the beginning, you just are forced for monthly payments. You need to pay the accountants and so on. So US is slightly better, especially if you're non-US citizen, non-US resident. Let's take a look at the next point, which is banking. And this is obviously where we are specialized on. I shared in many videos. We have the vision to build our own bank with isambank.com. And right now, we help a few chosen, righteous entrepreneurs with bank account opening. And I spent the last 10 years just fixing banking. That's why I'm sharing with you here. I'm the banking sultan, Samuel Aziz Boubaus. And let's take a look at banking and compare. The US LLC obviously helps you to open great bank accounts in the US, which should be logically. You have all the fintech bank accounts. You have Mercury, you have Relay, you have Wise, you have Slash, you have Pioneer, you have Revolut. I would recommend start with Revolut, start with Wise, and start maybe with Slash, but all the options are okay. I personally just don't like Pioneer. There are reasons for it. And you can open the bank accounts almost immediately. So you receive your EIN, and we'll walk you again through the timeline, but in the first weeks, you have your fintech bank accounts. It's really easy, and you can immediately get started, and you should always get approved if you do things right. If you don't get approved, you did something wrong. And then you can obviously, for example, book a call with us and get help. Or maybe you made already destroyed all the fintech bank accounts, then you definitely need help. But overall, to make it simple, US fintech bank accounts. While with Hong Kong, you obviously have either fintech bank accounts, which are useful worldwide, like again, Wise. And you have Airwallex. Airwallex is absolutely amazing, even as a payment aggregator, great. Then you have Aspire from Singapore, which is really great. And you have other options like currency, like state risk. So what's better? Nothing is better there. It just depends on where you need banking, where you're selling, where your clients at. And this is the most important, easy step to distinguish what you actually need. Because to use a US LLC, if you don't have at least 50% of sales in the US, especially in e-com, it doesn't make any sense at all. And if most of your sales are in Europe and in Asia, you need a Hong Kong Limited anyways. And imagine it would even work. It still doesn't make any sense to charge Asia, Europe clients with a US bank account and try to get the payment processing stable there, or the other way around. Most of the banks and payments processors, they want mostly that the transactions are in this economic zone. And this is great with Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is created for Asia and Europe and for dropshipping and for e-com. And US is created mostly for the US. Let's take a look at the local banks. We just filmed a JP Morgan review. And if it's already public, then also click this link and obviously subscribe to the channel. And the best local bank is JP Morgan Chase, where you can get started with around 150K. But I would recommend have at least 500K or 1 million to get a proper senior banker. Or you have JP Morgan Private Bank, which usually starts with $10 million bank balance or investments under management. And this is the #1 choice. It's the biggest bank in the world. And we have great connections there. And then you have other local banks. You have Bank of America, you have Citibank. So again, great for the US. And when can you open local bank accounts? Once you receive your ITIN, which takes a few months. And yes, you need to have usually 500K or $1 million bank balance so that it really makes sense for you and that you can really enjoy the advantages of the bank. As I'm telling you, I can't just tell you Hong Kong is better or US is better. It depends on you. And the same as if the local banks can really help you or not depends on you, on your situation, what you need and what you can actually give to them. And the best is if there's a proper transaction. In Asia, you have 2 great local banks. You obviously have much more, but you basically have UOB, United Overseas Banks, and you have DBS, and you have DBS Private Bank. And DBS is the #1 choice. DBS is absolutely amazing if you have at least 350,000 Singaporean dollar for preferred banking, and you need more, of course, for private banking. And they work, it's basically like the modern Swiss banking, and they can be also crypto friendly, but all the other crypto topics, I don't cover them today. If it's important for you, then just write it into the comments. So you have great options in both of these places, and it just depends on where you are making your money. Where do you generate your money? This is where you should have the company. This is where you should have the banking. And it's even more important for payment processing. Because a few days ago, we had one really rich client here. And sometimes, if you have a lot of money, you start to believe that you can just pay for everything. And with most business issues, it's true. I realized that most entrepreneurs just waste too much time with issues. The easiest way is to just throw money at this problem, and then it's solved. And this helps you to stay focused on just making more money, because I told you before, you don't need the connections and waste 10 years. You can just throw money at us. And if you're lucky, we can help you and fast track it. You don't need to waste weeks of accounting. You can just throw money on your team and your accountants, and you don't waste time. But payment processing isn't only throwing money at somebody. Why? Because you need to understand that it's a one system, and doesn't matter if it's banks, payment aggregators, payment processors, they can't just do whatever they want. They're under the mercy of somebody else. And that's why it's important, if you want to have proper US payment processing, have your sales in the US. I'm not talking about 100%. One of the best clients of us, they have 70% sales in the US, and then part in the UK, and then part around the world, and it's working fine. But it's not fine if you have 30% of sales in the US. Doesn't make any sense at all. And in the US and in Hong Kong, you have Stripe Shopify payments, which is almost for everybody the #1 choice. You have Airwallex, which is really great. and you have other options, other payment aggregators, and this is easy to get started and easy to sell worldwide. And then if you make more revenue, at least 200 or 300K per month with both companies, especially if you hit the 500K mark, you need at least a set backup. You need at least private processing, because I didn't find any entrepreneur until now who just used payment aggregators forever and never had an issue. And they have the issues immediately, because even if you don't get blocked, you have panic attacks, because you know it's a ticking time bomb. And something can happen to you every single day. And this is not freedom. This is not peace of mind. You want to build business in a way that you have full peace of mind. And many payment processing issues are created by you, because you don't even understand the basics, which means they don't have the right documents, you don't have the right bank, which means that there are so many common issues. And also there we filmed a video in Istanbul about the payment processing mistakes. So also check this video to get the full answer from us. I think that Hong Kong is a little bit better when it comes to PayPal. The dedicated PayPal managers are really appreciated from Hong Kong, but private processing can connect you to both. And then with the US LLC, you have all the local US payment options. And in Hong Kong, you have all the local payment options for Europe and for Asia. Zelle is missing here, which is really important. So just depends, again, on where you're selling. And you see the card acceptance rates are obviously, with the US LLC, higher in the US and Canada. And the card acceptance rates are obviously higher in Europe and in Asia with a Hong Kong Limited. Really easy. So I think it's clear for you. Just ask yourself, to which country are you selling mostly? And you already have the answer. Now you might ask yourself, okay, so how do I build the best payment processing setup? The best is, if you already make this revenue and you have 500K on your bank account, just apply it private processing, because it's anyways the ultimate solution, and then you don't need to worry. And then we have clients who come to us, and sometimes they make a lot of money, because there is not the one way which works in business. There are many ways, but there are ways which work better and ways which don't work that well. But basically, the most successful clients of us have two approaches. We have clients who just focus on one thing, on one country, on one niche, on one industry. And this is what I always recommend, and this is what I always did, because less headache, more easy to build unfair advantages. And we have other clients who have the syndrome of being everywhere in every country, every industry. And it works for many people, and it even makes more fun for them. But number one, it creates obviously payment processing issues. And number two, it creates confusion for yourself. That's why I made the video about how to make $2 million profit in e-commerce per month, where I just share with you, and this is what almost nobody really implemented, that the first step is have better affiliates. Stabilize your marketing, which means you already have the biggest unfair advantage, you are more profitable, and if you focus on affiliates, you can't just sell to every country. It's already difficult enough to build this unfair advantage and leverage in one country, in one language, and this forces you to focus on one country. And a lot of clients of us, and this is, by the way, a big difference between people who make 500K or maybe 1 million in revenue, or basically on the first level of being a millionaire net worth-wise, and the clients who have 100 million, the higher level people, they look at numbers. If you ask me about my competition, about my industry, how much is the competition making, how big is the industry, I can give you clear answers, because if I start a new business, I ask myself, wait, how much is the limit of this industry? And smaller people, they don't have the clear answers, and you need to know it. And if you have a good answer, just reach the limit of one country first before you sell worldwide. And this is why a lot of you struggle with payment processing, because you try to sell worldwide, different languages, which means the client support is always messed up. Sometimes we even have people who make $1 million and they don't have a client support at all. They are their own client support, which doesn't make any sense, which are full mindset issues. So different languages, shipping is messed up, and then you have high chargeback rates, and then payment processing is destroyed. And then everything is just working less and less and less. And it's so easy to outwork you when somebody is focusing on one industry, one country, good reviews, better shipping, faster response. So you need to stabilize your business. instead of saving money or trying to be everywhere. It doesn't make any sense at all. So I think the business aspect is clear. We have 5 more pages, and the next page are the investment possibilities, because obviously a lot of people think that the companies give you access to certain possibilities, and this is definitely true. The US LLC is great to invest in US real estate, in the international stock market, in crypto, for example, via Kraken, precious metals, new companies and startups. And Hong Kong is great to also invest in the stock market, in crypto. I think I just share with you what I use practically, especially also 2 pages later on. I would always recommend for stocks, it's really great. And once you make more money, this basically happens automatically. Once you have millions with Chase, the JP Morgan advisors will call you automatically and tell you, invest in the stocks with us, invest there with us, and it's up to you if you want to do this. Crypto, it's easy to cash out with Kraken and with proper personal private banking with JP Morgan if you do things right. And it's great to invest in companies. Obviously, the US has most tech, finance, e-com companies in the world, so you have a lot of different possibilities. But for buying companies, I think this is not crucial. So, for example, some time ago I visited the Dampenia seminar in Scotland, the Castle seminar, the good old legendary one, to improve acquisitions, and it really helped me a lot. And I did a lot of acquisitions in my life, buying companies for millions of dollars. But I tell you honestly, the best acquisitions were the ones when I didn't even know that much about acquisitions, about reading numbers, because the best acquisitions were the ones which came through my network, which were referral, which helped me to expand my business. And that's why I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if you need signer or if you need good deals. The best is our invite-only exclusive community, where you anyways have the best deals, because we have rich clients who want to sell their companies. By the way, we are selling some companies, so if you have at least $50 million to invest, there's a possibility for you. We have other clients who want to buy companies, so it's just a value exchange. And Hong Kong, basically the same, but I would say the winner is still the US. But anyways, for investment possibilities, I think the best way is to choose another jurisdiction also, which I will reveal later on. And in both countries, by the way, you can set up a trust, an irrevocable trust. So the asset protection is good in both countries. And anyways, once you have a lot of money, you should try to rule over all continents with your investments. And you shouldn't rely on one country or one continent. It doesn't make any sense. So it's just logical to basically build something in Asia, something in Europe, something in the Middle East, and something in the US. But it's really important to take a look at the next step, which is asset and legal protection. And the US LLC is used for asset protection because you have strong asset protection laws, which definitely protects you more from creditors. And because it's anonymous, it's just hard to get you, to be honest. There's not much compliance. You're just flexible. And this is something which is a must, because I realized that the more money you have, the more people want to take something from you. It's just how it is. And making videos doesn't help. People want to take even more from you. And I can give you hundreds of examples. For example, we had one guy who somehow said he has some copyright of something of us and tried to make a lawsuit against us for a few $100K, which didn't make any sense at all. And then he found that I have a company in the UK, because it's transparent. And I knew we will win it, but it's still annoying. And in the US, it's so difficult, even with businesses in the European Union. In Germany, it's normal that other companies make lawsuits against you to destroy you. It's just annoying. And you already have an advantage by having a US LLC, because it's hard to get you. And it's a must. It's a competitive advantage. And then you have somebody doing a lawsuit from another part around the world, then it's there. So I realized if you have the good company structure, if you have good lawyers, you don't need to worry. If you do everything right, halal, legal. And this is part of the business. The more money you make, business is war. And being on the right path, being an istikama, which is one of our key principles, it doesn't make it more easy. more competitors, more enemies will come. So your setup need to be bulletproof. But the US is definitely absolutely amazing and a new no-brainer for legal protection, even if it's just for setting up the LLC and having a bank account under the LLC and keeping money and investments there. So easy. Hong Kong is a little bit weaker because there's no anonymous ownership, it's more maintenance, and there's just no unique legal protection. But both of them can hold a lot of assets, and I would always just take the structure which fits to the assets and investments based on this jurisdiction. So don't overcomplicate. That's what I want to repeat. The best business guys, the best entrepreneurs keep simple structures, and the most unsuccessful ones try to overcomplicate. In the beginning, we had the people who said, no, I want the Cook Islands Trust holding the LLC, and then the LLC holding the UAE company, and with the UAE company I buy real estate. There's no value in it. It's completely chaos. You need a simple structure. And how I do it, so which jurisdictions should you choose for what? Real estate, I would always choose the UAE first and get the golden visa first. And if you then want to have a better structure, it's easy to have a foundation here. And then you can buy real estate worldwide, depending on where you want to buy real estate. When it comes to holding other companies, it only makes sense usually if you're a 9-figure entrepreneur. Before, most people just overcomplicate. Bank accounts, you want US bank accounts, use the US LLC. You want Hong Kong bank accounts, choose the Hong Kong Limited. Makes sense, right? Stocks, depending on where you want to invest. Crypto, good for both to cash it out if you have the right connections. Luxury assets, depends on where you want to buy luxury assets. Most of our clients, they just buy the first big villa, the first supercars, the most expensive things wherever they live. Then I would always recommend, because we have precious metals here, buy precious metals in a safe jurisdiction. I think Singapore is great because it's safe. The UAE is great because it's safe. And number 3 is maybe Switzerland because it's safe. And all the other rights, royalties, trademarks, they just depend on wherever your company is active. It works with both. But to hold assets, US is always the first choice and a winner in this comparison. And the last step, because I know it's more than enough for today, is the usability. I think both is great, to make it short. Easy to open. US LLC takes a few days. Hong Kong takes a few days. There's so much flexibility. Hong Kong is more compliance, as we already shared with you many times today, and more documentation. But if you need it, you need it. Just build a good team, and that's it basically, and then you don't need to worry. Especially for your e-commerce business, or a lot of our e-commerce clients still have some coaching business, consulting business. The documentation is anyways not much. And if it's much for you, then it's probably just because you don't have the right team. And you need to fix your mindset to have a right team. The timeline, you see the timeline here. I just make it short. It's both fast. The only issue is, which takes longer with the US, is the ITIN. And normally you can only open local bank accounts as a non-US citizen, non-US resident with an ITIN, while you can do it earlier with Hong Kong. But as I said, if you're willing to have a US partner, US signer, you can fast track this process. And when you are lucky, then we will put the link to our bank account openings here in the description. And then you can potentially fast track this step. So last page for today. Which company is the best for you and your business? As I'm always telling you, US, Canada, Hong Kong, Europe, and Asia. That's it for today. And now you might ask yourself how we can help you to implement everything. Of course, we have wealthconsulting.com. And wealthconsulting.com is great to get started. You need only a few K for the consultation. And this is what most entrepreneurs need. They just need clarity to do the right steps. If you have around 15K, we help you with the holistic company structures around the world. And if you make 500K or more, then you can apply for private processing and for our banking services. And I hope this video could help you. And if you want to learn more about how we can help you, then check wealthconsulting.com, privateprocessing.com. And I would say see you in the call, see you in the next video, or see you in real life, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.